קשה לדבר ביקשו להגיד כמה מילים. מוירי חומי גדל בבית כידוע של החובר יוינו עמנואל, שהיה מייסד של קהילת הדס ישורון בדרום אפריקה, שזה היה שממה באותו זמן. בסביבה לא היו בתי כנסת שומרי שבס, ויונה עמנואל הוא פתח מניין בתוך הבית שלו, וככה התייסדה קהילה של יראים, קהילה סדס ישורון. משם יש צאצאים וצאצאי צאצאים. בבית הזה גם כן קיבלו הרבה ראשי ישיבס, תלמידי חכמים חשובים, קיבלו אותם בבית, היה בית פתוח, הבית של יונה וגוטל עמנואל. ובבית הזה גדל מוירי חומי. זה היה דוגמה, זה היה החינוך. כמה נקודות שבולטות, מה שראו, מה שמכירים, כולם יודעים. ומקבל אסכול האודום בסבר פונים יופויס. כולם זוכרים את החיוך החם שלו. אם זה היה כשהוא קיבל אנשים בבית, אם זה היה ברחוב, אפילו נהגי מוניות, זכרו אותו תמיד לטובה. היה כמו מגנט שמושך, היה כזה אהוב על הבריות, נתן תשומת לב לכולם. אוהב הסבריוס ומקרבון לתוירו, כמדומה בשם החזון איש, שלא הפירוש, שזה שני דברים, מעלה אחת זה אוהב הסבריוס, מעלה שנייה מקרבון לתוירו, אלא איך מקרבים את הבריות לתוירו על ידי אוהב הסבריוס. וזה היה הצורה, איך שמויר חומי היה עושה, מתוך אהבה, שאנשים הרגישו את האהבה שלו, הלב הפתוח שלו, ככה הוא קירב אנשים לתוירו. היה לו הרבה קביעויות של חברוסס, אם זה בבית, אם זה בעבודה, מקומות שונים, זמנים שונים. הוא דאג לקרב ולחזק רחוקים. היה מאוד חשוב אצלו. הוא היה רוידב צדוקו וחסד. הוא היה גבאי צדוקה, היה אוסף צדקות והיה לו קרן מיוחדת, הכנוס אסקלו, כאלה שלא יכלו לעשות חתונה לבד, הוא דאג שיהיה להם חתונה מכובדת עם כל הדברים, כל מה שצריך. אפילו אם היה צריך, חוץ מביגוד ואוכל, היה צריך אפילו כרטיס טיסה בשביל מי שצריך לנסוע לשמחה של הבת שלו ואין לו כסף לכרטיס טיסה, גם לזה הוא דאג. וכל כך היה חשוב לו והוא אהב את הצדוקה, שאני בתור חתן טרי שהגעתי הביתה, אז הוא דאג לתת לי מטבעות כל יום שיהיה לי איך לתת צדוקה. כשאני מגיע מהארץ ואין לי את המטבעות של דרום אפריקה, נתן לי שיהיה לי כסף מטבעות כדי שיהיה לי עם מה לתת צדוקה. שמירת המסורת כך היה חשוב לשמור את המסורת. עשה לכו רב, היה שואל את הרב של הקהילה, הרב זלצר, קיבל מה שהוא אמר, שמיר הסלוחה, היה לו קביעות, קיצור שולחנו ערוך, הוא ידע יפה, כל דבר היה דואג מה זה על פי הלוחה, וגם בלבוש וצורה של יהודי, השמירה של איך יהודי מתלבש, תמיד יצא עם כובע וחליפה וזקן, צורה של יהודי. הוא היה בעל דרך ארץ מיוחד, שזה היה אצלו בדם. תודה, בבקשה, סליחה, לבריאות, אפילו להפליא, אפילו בזמן שהוא היה בלי הכרה. הוא היה בחדר שלו, וככה הוא לא דיבר. אבל הוא שמע מישהו מתעטש שם בסלון, הוא אומר, bless you, אמר לבריאות, זה נכנס לו, זה היה בדם. אנחנו אומרים בשם כולם תודה לארגון החשוב חסדי עמרם, שהם התמסרו מאוד במשך הרבה מאוד זמן לבוא לבית ולתת את השירות בשעות לא שעות, והודות לזה אז היה אפשר להתנהג איתו בצורה מכובדת בבית, במקום הרבה פעמים להתרוצץ בכל מיני מקומות, בתי חולים ורופאים וקופות חולים, וכל האחרים שסייעו, אי אפשר לפרט את כולם, בכל מיני אופנים, גם במשך כל הזמן, גם עכשיו בסוף, לקראת הסוף, ולבני המשפחה במיוחד, אלה שהיו באים מחוץ לארץ במשך כשנתיים לפחות, הבנים והבנות שהגיעו כל כמה חודשים, הגיעו לבקר ולהשתתף, עזבו את המשפחות ובאו במסירות של כיבוד אב ואם. וגם מכאן, המשפחות שכאן, באופן מסור יוצא מן הכלל, איך שטיפלו באבא ואימא. ובפרט לממי, כמה שהיא הייתה מסורה כל הזמן, כל השנים, ועד הסוף, כל הזמן, 24 שעות, מסורה באופן יוצא מן הכלל. שהקדוש ברוך הוא ייתן לה כוח להמשיך הלאה, וינחם את המשפחה. אנחנו מבקשים מחילה בשם כולם, בין אם היה חיסרון של כבוד בצורה של הדיבור, בין אם בצורה של התנהגות, בין אם בעניינים של ממונות, בוודאי שהוא יהיה מליץ יושר. כלל ישראל נמצא בצרה, מצב קשה, והיה לו לב רחום, כאב לו כל כך צרות של יהודים וצרות של כלל ישראל. ודאי שהוא יהיה מליץ יושר על כלל ישראל, שניבשה במהרה לתשועה סוילומים, ולמשפחה שכולם ימשיכו בשלשלת הזהב, אלה שצריכים שידוכים שימצאו את הזיווג ההגון, אלה שצריכים זרע של קיומה, שיהיה להם את הזרע של קיומה, ויקוים בנו בילה המובס לא נצח ומוחו השם אלוהיקים דימו מעל כל פונים.
פח נשבור, אנחנו נמלטנו 88 years of chesed, incredible chesed, incredible ben Adam Lamokim, and ben Adam LeChaveroi LeElo, to levels that can't even imagine how to get to those levels. I dafka want to start where my brother-in-law ended. I want to start with the thank yous. First and foremost, to the incredible mesirus of my dear mother-in-law. Most of the years, especially in the last few years, handling the whole situation on her own until we managed to bring a carer into the house to help her. But it didn't matter. Even when the carer was there, it was an ongoing. Every time she was worried that he wasn't breathing properly or something wasn't right, immediately on the case. Incredible dedication round the clock, literally. There's no words to thank for such a mesirus, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be mezaker to many more years of Aruchas Yomim V'Shonim, to have nachas from all our amazing children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Ad Me'er V'Esrim. Next, I want to give an incredible thank you to the only sibling who lived nearby, and that's to Miriam and Avram Eshaya, who kimat for years, nearly every Shabbos, were there, and every day, and whenever they were needed, they would run over. Incredible caring. And I could go through each one of the 8 siblings and describe. I know personally what my own wife did, and every one of them, whether the flying in of the boys, as often as they could come, flying in from America, from Canada, the girls from Cleveland, from Gateshead, and even over here, as many times as was needed, we that's what we did. We went for Shabbos, leaving our families behind. Everybody just doing whatever we could to help the situation, and that comes from incredible caring that the parents had for their children, and the children wanting to give back something to their parents. I could go on, but we were asked to keep it short due to the situation, so I'll go on. I can say from my own personal self, from the moment that I was engaged, Dad accepted me literally as a child in the home. There was no differences. I remember when I got engaged, Dad benched me and he said to me, "You are not an in-law in this house. You are my child." And from that point on, that's what it was. And that's how I was treated, and that's the way it was. It was an unbelievable thing. Baruch Hashem, my wife and I were zoiche. Since my in-laws moved to Eretz Yisrael about 24 years ago, we were zoiche to host my in-laws for Pesach and Rosh Hashanah for all the years until Corona came along and put a bit of a break to it, and then my shver got a little bit sick, and the process began, but it was a big schus to be able to host them and give back just a little bit of all that we had received over the years. The love for Eretz Yisrael, I remember, there was no question. Even though there were children living in America and children living in Canada and Gateshead, and they had many options where to go when they left South Africa. There was no question about it. The love for Eretz Yisrael was such that there was nothing to discuss. It was only Eretz Yisrael. Only Eretz Yisrael, an incredible love for Eretz Yisrael. As my brother-in-law described, my father-in-law, Ben Adam LeChaveroi, I remember walking in the street with him on Shabbos. Every person he saw, he greeted them, good Shabbos, good Shabbos. I said, Dad, you know a lot of people, yeah, no, I don't know them, but that's the way he was, greeting everybody. His love for the kids. All of us remember when our children were small, always one of the grandchildren was on his lap. He was patting them. He was busy putting them to sleep on his shoulder, whatever it was. My father-in-law had an incredible musical talent. Anybody who knows his piano playing was incredible, and always enjoyed singing with us. We used to sing all the Yakish and Nigunim always. Just this past Friday, Erev Simchas Torah, I was there with my wife, and I sang what's known to the Yekids as the Yora Kaddish. It's a special Kaddish that goes through all the Nigunim of the year. And my father-in-law was not responsive. He wasn't looking at anything. He wasn't responding to anybody. But as soon as I began singing the Kaddish, so my father-in-law, you could see his lips started moving, and he was singing along with me. Because it was ingrained in the music, all the Nigunim, all the Messiah that he brought with him, that he grew up with from the Emanuel home. As my brother-in-law mentioned as well, I remember from when I joined the household, at the Emanuel, at my father-in-law's table, were all the people on a regular basis that weren't invited by most people. These were the people that, the divorcees that were struggling to find themselves socially, or it was the older singles, or it was whatever it was, whoever it was, they were at the table. They were always at the table, Bas. My father-in-law used to learn with all kind of people in the evenings. I remember they used to have his kavirs there. They used to close the dining room doors over there. They used to have these chavrusas, one after the next, with all these people. And we know some of these people. Some of these people, he was makar their mamash, and he married them off. And I could mention names here, but it's not necessary. For those who know, they know. Bunch of years ago, we all remember my father-in-law used to go every morning with Mesirus Nefesh. He used to take a taxi to go to the early minyan in Harnof, in the Kilas B'nai Torah. And he had his kvirs. He would call a taxi. He would wait outside. The taxis would take him, and he would go to shul. And that morning, it was no different. He called the taxi, and he went outside, and he waited for the taxi. And the taxi never came, and he went inside, and my mother, he said, call the taxi again, and he was waiting and waiting. And normally he would keep waiting and keep calling, but for some reason, we know afterwards, HaKadosh Baruch Hu had tremendous rachmanas on Mashver. Mashver used to daven in the back of the downstairs Beis HaMedrash in Kilas B'nai Torah, right by the entrance where the terrible massacre in the shul took place. And that morning he could not get to the shul. He tried and he tried and he kept trying. He kept calling. And the taxis never came. And we all know what happened in Arnov, but we see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Berachmanas, spared my father-in-law from that terrible tragedy that happened over there. In all the shuls that Mashveh was part of, everybody loved him. Everybody loved him, whether it was by Rav Reuben in Eretz Yisrael or it was by Rabbi Brazil afterwards. He became part and parcel of the Kehillah back in South Africa, all the Kehillahs that in the Eretz Yeshurun and the Koilel. Everybody loved him. Everybody would shmooze to him. He would shmooze to them. He would give chizuk to everybody. As I say, I need to be mekatzer. But if we look around this room, we see, Baruch Hashem, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Tremendous family that my in-laws were zoiche to build and have lots of nachas from them. V'yivula moves lo netzach. Mashver should be a melit yoishe. As my brother-in-law mentioned, we're in a terrible matzav in Eretz Yisrael. Mashver would cry many tears for these kind of matzavim. Please, Dad, go up to Shamayim. please go to the Kisei HaKavod and beg for Rachamim, for Klal Yisrael, for all the soldiers that are being Moise Nefesh right now, so that this war comes to a quick end. Vivula Mois Lo Netzach, Umocha Hashem Elokim Dimo Me'al Kol Ponim V'Neimar Amen.
אני מבקש מחילה, אני אדבר באנגלית. At a simcha, we say, this is definitely not a simcha, but I would like to Paiskin b'chvoid my mother-in-law, as my brothers-in-law, my esteemed brothers-in-law mentioned, the heartfelt gratitude to the dedication of my mother-in-law goes beyond words, and again, also would like to, on behalf of my family and everyone else, we all would like to give brachas that she should have gesund for many, many years. We live in a society that revolves around titles. Rash kibahag, Hagodl, Hagoyin, Hagodl, Harahag, all kinds of titles. So I would like to put my Shver's life into perspective with two titles that he was given. Hachover, Meyer, Emanuel. In the time of Chazal, the term Chover referred to somebody who was a machmer, somebody who was particular, generally in inyanim of halacha, what other people were not really so careful on. They didn't have to do it. But a chaver was careful to make sure to be machmer on all those things that the Bara Olam wanted them to do. People who knew my father-in-law back in the day when he was younger, I think definitely would agree that the term chaver applied to Meyer Emanuel. He was known as a machmer regarding the people in the Yekisha community in South Africa. I understand that I've heard from people that knew him back then that he was considered a frummer. He was a machmer. He was taka a chaver. I remember a story. One of my brothers-in-law in South Africa, you couldn't really get chocolate with a good hechsher in South Africa. But there was a line of chocolate that was Avkas Cholav Nochri. Cholav Akum is a chumrah. Avkas Cholav Akum is a machloikis, so you could definitely count it as a double whammy. It's a double machloikis, double chumrah. One of my brothers-in-law was giving his little children chocolate because you couldn't really get chocolate in South Africa. Avkas Cholav Nochri. Come on. Big deal. But a Chaver Meir Emanuel didn't put up with that. That's not the way to go. He was beside himself. We don't give that to our children. You don't give Avkas Cholav Nochri. Yeah, but Dad, I mean, come on. It's like, no, we don't do that because a Chaver doesn't do that. That's not the way a Chaver lives. So yes, my Shver was a Chaver Meir Emanuel. The problem is, here in Eretz Yisrael, where a chaver, a machmer, has a tendency to be gauged by the size of his payas. If he's machmer on meisering angel's bread, or and walking around with a very serious face, that generally is who we consider a machmer. So in that sense, Meir Emanuel wasn't really such a chaver. I mean, there wouldn't be that many people here that would appreciate Hachover Meir Emanuel. There's a second definition for a chaver. we ask if it's in the half of the family, if all those could please turn off the telephones. The second definition of a chaver is the title given in Yekisha communities to somebody who was dedicated to Torah, dedicated to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to passing on true traditional Jewish values to the next generation, regardless of what was going on publicly in the street. Those people that were dedicated to the Kehillah, those people that cared about Kvod Shomayim. There's a term in Yiddish, L'chayidin. There's no real definition for the term L'chayidin. But it seems that a chaver is an L'chayid, an L'chayid. Yeah, I think my father-in-law could be called a chaver, Meyer Emanuel. In fact, he had that title. The problem with that title is that no one even knows about it nowadays. It doesn't exist. You tell a Gabi, a chaver, he thinks you're out of your mind or he just ignores you. He pretends like he didn't hear. That's a funny chaver. What's that supposed to mean? Who wants to be called a chaver when you get an aliyah? I mean, it's like, right? So in that case, no one here really appreciates Hachover, Meyer Emanuel. But there's this third definition of the term chaver, which brings me to the second title that my father-in-law had. The second title my father-in-law had was Hatzadik Miakablan Shalosh. Now, everybody here is thinking, what's this guy talking about? Who writes Kvitalach and gives Kvitalach to some guy in a Kablan Shalosh? We're not familiar with any tzaddik in Kablan Shalosh. I'll tell you, who knows? I'll tell you who knows about the tzaddik and Kablan Shalosh. You call up the phone. There's a taxi company called Givat Shol. There's another company called Bar Ilan. And you call them up and you order a taxi and you say, hey, driver. Without a yarmulke often, definitely isn't what we would call a classic yeshiva man. And you say, have you ever heard of the chaver, of the tzaddik of Rehov Kablan Shalosh? Oh, ma, tzaddik hazeh, there. How's he doing? Hatzadik Merchov Kablan Shalosh. Because my father-in-law was a chaver. He was a friend. He cared. He showed an interest in every single Jew. He cared. He loved every single Jew. Pashat Yidden, the simple Jew, the taxi drivers, for heaven's sake, the Pashat Yidden taxi drivers, they consider themselves personal friends of a chaver, Meyer Emanuel. There's a medrash, Yerushalmi, a medrash. It brings a pasuk in this week's parsha. It says in the pasuk, "V'ahavta l'recha kamoicha zeh klal gadol b'Torah." Amr B'Kiv, everybody's familiar with it. It's a bit difficult. Think about it. How can you love your friend like your neighbor? It doesn't even seem fair, the Ksivui. But then the Yerushalmi has a nusach. It's brought in the medrash, and it says, "Ben Azai yoimer zeh sefer toilos adam klal gadol yoser mimenu." There's a bigger klal, a more fundamental and basic klal about Avas Yisrael, and it's that every Yid was created in the image of God. If we can train ourselves to see the godliness, to see the holiness, the hecher, the godless in every single Jew, we'll come to truly love them. My father-in-law was able to, as was mentioned, to see the godliness in every Jew. Hachover Meyer Emanuel saw and appreciated it and was able to lakarv on the Torah, as was mentioned, because he saw the beauty and the Pashta Yidden. He saw that, and he was the real chaver. I don't think it's coincidental that he was saved by a taxi company. because he was the tzaddik. And Rehov HaKablan Shalosh. So taxis saved his life. There's a Gemara in Tainus that says that one of the Amoraim met Eliyahu Hanavi. Doesn't happen every day. And he goes up and says, hey, who's a Ben Olam Haba? We all want, that's what we're striving for. All we're interested in is to get to Olam Haba, right? That's all we want. So who's a Ben Olam Haba? He sees Eliyahu Hanavi, tells him. He says, that guy over there, two guys over there. Two Litzanim. The Baal Shem Tov explains it a little differently, but in the Pasha Pshat, they were just Pashtid and Pashtid. So he goes up to him, why would you, two of you, be deserving of Ben? Why are you, what do you do? What keeps you busy? Well, we go around making people smile. A Ben Olam Haba is somebody that understands and can appreciate that, and to make somebody happy. Levadeach. The Maharsha explains, I highly recommend you take a look in the Maharsha. The Maharsha explains because when Am Yisrael, when every Jew is sad, the Bara Olam is sad. When we are happy, the Bara Olam is happy. So says the Maharsha, well then it's obvious. If you can make a Jew happy, you're obviously going to be a Ben Olam. You're making the Bara Olam happy. What else could you be do? What should you do possibly to be more zoiche to be a Ben Olam Haba? It seems like you don't even have to have, a frock or a shtreimel necessarily to be a Ben Olam Haba. You just have to care about people and be a true Hachover. Hachover, Meyer, Emanuel. I'm not necessarily saying that every joke that Dad said was funny, but every joke made everybody happy. And we all smiled whatever Dad did because he made us all happy. So yeah, I think that my father-in-law is really Hachover, Meyer, Emanuel, by all means of the word. And I think that Hachover, Meyer, Emanuel, is therefore going to be a Hachover of the Bara Olam. Because the Bara Olam is happy when we make each other happy. The Bara Olam's buddy. The Bara Olam's buddy. Hachover. I don't know, but maybe the Bara Olam felt in these very trying times that he needed his buddy in Shamayim to be Meilitz Yosher for all of us. It's possible. Maybe that's why Dad was taken now, because he was the Bara Olam's buddy, Chaver Meir Emanuel. I don't know, maybe because we are supposed to learn and take a message from Hachover. And we should try and strive to become Chaverim. We should try to respect each other a little more. To not pay attention to the Narishkeiten, to be mevater and to show love and caring. Smile, say good morning, to pay attention to people. Maybe we're supposed to be Chaverim, and then maybe that's what the Baruch really wants from us. And maybe through that, we'll be Zoiche to cease of all the tzoras. I'll conclude with the bracha that we're going to say on this Shabbos. Hu yigal isonu b'korov, v'kabetz nilchenu me'arba kanfos haaretz, Chaverim kol Yisrael, v'noimar, amen.
ברשוס, אני מדבר כנכד, talking as a grandson. I had a very big schus after Appa and Dama came into Eretz Yisrael to eat by them every Friday morning and Leil Shabbos, for a Shabbos Suda. And I want to talk at least about myself, about a few points that I take from my grandfather. It says that Al shloisha dvarim ha'olam oimid, al ha'toiro v'al ha'avoda v'al gminus chasodim. These are the three poles that the world stands on. So the first is Torah, and obviously Appa learned in Kol Torah by Rav Kunshtat Zatzal, and later on all the kvius itim laTorah that he had. But in his late years, when he came to Eretz Yisrael, he had so many kvius, chavrusa in the morning, afternoon, late evening, and here and there, another chavrusa, and with this guy, and when after a person gets to this stage in his life, you could see who the person is. I remember when I was in the Suda by Opa and Doma on Leil Shabbos. So someone who came in from South Africa said that you became so spiritual. Now, obviously, he didn't become so spiritual. That showed who he really is. Because this is his place, Eretz Yisrael. Torah is his place. And obviously the Vatara, every Seuda, preparing beforehand and talking to everyone with a smile. The amazing way he used to talk to people. And the second is Avodah. For me, Appa is a tremendous example for coming to Tefillah on time, in Shul, in a minyan, from beginning to end, B'chavod, Koimid Lifnei HaMelech. That's a Tefillah, that's Avodah. Another part of Avodah is also Emunah. I remember I was with Appa in hospital a few years back, and as he woke up in the morning after sunrise, the first thing is, I want to put on tefillin, I want to daven. And all the time he told me again and again, what Hashem wants, that's what's going to happen. And that's emunah. Very clear emunah, very clear. What Hashem wants, that's what's going to happen. And the third part is Gemilus Chasodim. And everyone mentioned that. So kind. Heve Mekabel is called Adam Besever Panim Yafis. So nice of people, smiling, caring deeply with all his heart to all the other heart of others. Being there completely for others. And another Nekuda is his Simcha. Always happy. My mother just mentioned that, as I spoke to my mother, that always with a smile, always happy, never fighting, never talking any lashon hara, anything bad about others. A real example or Talmud of Aaron, Oiv Shalom, Oiv Rodiv Shalom. I could say about myself, I'm sure that's the same for all our family. You Appa and Lahavdil Ben Chaim Lechaim Amma, we will continue your way of Shalom. All of us, all the family, together, being together, loving each other. And maybe a few words to you, Amma. You're a tremendous example for me and all of us of taking care of Appa. Something amazing, something so unusual. And that's really caring. If we're talking about caring about the other person, being there completely and totally for the other person. Whatever he needs, whatever I dream that maybe he needs, whatever I could think that maybe he will want or need, and I'll be there for him. So Amma, you are our queen, and we hope to be with you until 120, sei gesund, and all together, all the family. And I'm sure, like all of us, that Appa will be a Melitz Yosher. He wants good for us, for all Klal Yisrael. We should have B'Seiros Toivus.
Shlomo HaMelech says in Mishlei, Chanoich lanar al pi darkoi, gam ki yazkin al yosel mimeno. He's supposed to be mechanech a child, al pi darkoi, in the way is matim for him. And then also ki yazkin al yosel mimeno. Also when he becomes older, not davka, it's always so easy and it's not the same like when you're younger. Also when you become older, al yosel mimeno. Also then you're so mechubar, you're so connected to your way you did the whole life. So also when you become a bit older, also then you're still shaykh, you're still connected to the same pnimis you had before. When it comes to speak about Appa, so the Melabon family has a specific akos I thought about 20 years ago when Nomi was 6. So the older ones remember that we had like a second house by Amma and Appa. For Shabbos, after Shabbos, for like maybe around half a year, we every Shabbos went to Amma and Amma and Havdil and Oppa and Oma made the most to spoil us, to give us the feeling of having a second house. Oppa used to like play with us and come with us to the porch to play on the swing, the old swing they had. He used to like pass behind it, like tickle us with his tzitzis. He used to be the best grandfather to give us the best feeling. We're going to have the most time, the most fun time in the house. Oppa always used to sing his mirrors in the way to make the kids. He used to sing a bit in a funny way sometimes to make the kids have a geschmacka time in the Suda Shabbos. So as kids, we all remember having the fun time of the Suda. I still remember for that kufa, I had the schus to do shimush by Oppa about the Mishnah, have a makadim b'shleim kol adam. Every davening for a kufa of a half a year, every day, every Shabbos, we went for Meyer, for Shachris, back home, for Mincha, every time we went to shul and came back, every person that passed by got a special good Shabbos, like his Oppa old friend. It was a real way of saying, have a makadim b'shleim kol adam. There was one more name that Abba didn't mention. His name was Hachover Meyer Emanuel. Last time his name was Meyer because he was Kipshuta, Kishmai Kain Hu. He was Meyer Panim. That was part of him being Meyer Panim L'Kol Adam. I wanted to mention that it could be in the last short kufa. It could be when Oppa wasn't so well. So it could be the Pnimius wasn't so much Balet Kalape Chutz. But I wanted to say a short story. Milvada, everybody saw that every time and everybody used to come. So Oppa used to make the most out to give a smile, to say hello to the kids. Always used to make his most but his pnimus always was there, always wanted to say hello to the kids and to make them happy. I wanted to say one story that shows out that as Shlomo HaMelech says, Gam ki yazkin al yosel mimeno, it could be that the body is becoming older, he doesn't have so much koyach like when he's younger, but the pnimius, Dalko is always over there, it's always inside, and I'd always be going to be seeing it, but it's always over there. Nothing changed. It's the same Oppa, the same Hachover Meir Emanuel. The story was, if in the last Kufa, I came to visit Oppa one morning, and Uncle Elon was here from Chutz La'aretz. I don't know if you remember the story. And Uncle Elon asked Oppa, should I daven with you? Oppa wasn't feeling so good, so he was in bed. He was wearing his pajamas. He wasn't feeling so good. So Uncle Elon offered him, because he wanted him to daven, to help him daven. So Oppa looked at him and said, how can I daven with pajamas? How can I be Omer Lifnei HaMelech with pajamas? Well, I was very mispal. Oppa was in a situation, he didn't hold so much. He wasn't feeling so good. He wasn't so sharp about if it's chayav to daven, or b'chlal not chayav to daven. But pitom he realized, be davening? I'm Omer Lifnei HaMelech. The same way for 88 years he used to daven every day, come early before davening until the last Kaddish, and stay a few more seconds. Davening is not you come in and leave. Davening is Omer Lifnei HaMelech. You come early, you get ready for davening, you come on time, you're talking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How can I daven in his pajamas? Even when he wasn't so bedavka, so much strong about when his body wasn't so strong about davening in minyan, but he always felt that the pnimius always was there about Omer Lifnei HaMelech. Tefillah is Omer Lifnei HaMelech. You have to be ra'ui lezeh. And also about Adam Lechaveiro, also every time when somebody would come and he used to come visit, you always could see that sometimes Oppa would like give a smile, do the most, whatever he could, whatever koiches he had to give someone a good feeling that came to visit him. I remember that one simcha, so Oppa and Oppa had the schus, the Oppa came to us, and then Oppa wanted to go also to the hall wherever we were eating, so Oppa needed some help to go there. So he was in a wheelchair, so all the children and grandchildren had to push in the wheelchair. So I think Oppa saw it was getting a bit heavy. So Davka over there was a time to give a good joke and get the olam continuing. He always knew when to say the good sentence and in the good timing to make everybody happy. To Meir Panim L'Chol Adam. Reb Chaim Volozhin asked in the Mishnah says, Asor nisyonos nisnasa Avraham Avinu ve'omad bekulam. Reb Chaim Volozhin asked, why does the Mishnah have to point out Avraham Avinu? We all know that. So he answers that the Mishnah is teaching us a big lesson. He's saying that when someone works on his midas, works on his pnimius, and he's masig a big mila, it doesn't leave. It always stays there. Therefore, since it became part of him, it's a teva, part of his nation, So all the kids are going to be born afterwards, they get the same, the over bagedim. It becomes part of him, and the kids that come later, born from him, they also get the same. They also get the same milos. That could be masig easier, the same milos that the father had. And the Sfarim say that also if things that he was dedicating on himself, also after the kids were born, also could be mashpia, like we see that by the story of Akedas Yitzchak. So we all should be zoichet to be the hachayit and libo. We all should be zoichet to learn from Appa's way, Appa Avinu. We should be zoichet to learn from Appa all the good things we all heard about the whatever everybody mentioned, He'il Panim L'Kol Adam, and all the to be mechubar to the panim of Avodas Hashem. We should be all bezeichet. Appa is going to be a malifation for everybody in all Klal Yisrael. U'mocha Hashem Aleikim Dima Mal Kol Panim V'nayim Amen.
Shus, Opa. Sovitzkeni, Sovimori. Shus Oma. It's a big day today. It says when a tzaddik leaves town, it's Yosser Saroshem. So I'm sure that today that Opa left the world. It's a big day. Big day in this world. I spent a lot of time with Opa, and I learned a lot from him. And I learned from Opa that to teach, to inherit it, just pass over stuff. You don't need to talk. You need to do. I was with Opa. I got to know Opa when he was a bit older already. And Opa was an example for me. Always smiling to everyone. Always greeting everyone. Also, when Opa wasn't feeling the best, he came into his room, got a big smile. He put a smile on your face. So, thank you for that, Opa. I want to say today is hard days going on Klal Yisrael. And it says that Bedor Shel Achav, everyone used to be of the Avodah Zarah, and they used to go out to wars, and they used to win the wars. In David HaMelech's generation, the kids knew a drash, a pshat in the Torah, and they knew how to dorish it, memtes tzdadim Torah, memtes tzdadim Tomeh, and the kids used to die in the war. People used to come back dead. And we would ask, how could it be that in Achav generation, they all of the Avodah Zarah, and they're coming back alive. And in David HaMelech's generation, they all big Talmidei Chachamim, and they're coming back, lo aleinu, and they're not alive. And it says then the Gemara that in Achav generation, they didn't talk bad on each other. So I want to say that we are descendants of Appa. We are still part of Appa's generation. We all know Appa never spoke bad about anyone. Never heard a bad word coming out of Appa's mouth. So Mirza Hashem, that schus will stand for us. And Appa will be a Meilitz Yosher that will have Saras Tovitz and Mirza Hashem. We will win the war and Mashiach will come very soon. I want to ask Michela in the name of our family, our personal family, family Shoman. Oppa and Amma used to come for us a lot for Pesach, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur sometimes. We didn't have the capacity, we didn't have the respect to accept and learn from Oppa. So Oppa, I apologize. I'm asking Michela in the name of our Shoman family, if we didn't respect you enough. We all love you tons. We appreciate you. And we miss you tons. We're going to miss you tons. Be a Meilitz Yosher for us. And we're going to do our best to follow your big steps you left behind you. Mitzvah Hashem, Saras Tovas, shouldn't know any more tsar.
I was asked to say two more thank yous and to ask Mechila b'Shem and the whole family. So I want to publicly thank Dr. Amram, who was like a private doctor, available 24/7, literally 24/7, and his dedicated nurse Heshi for mamash being available throughout the last Tekufa whenever we needed them, and also b'Shem the whole family, the children, the grandchildren, and my dear mother-in-law, everybody. I want to ask Mechila. Opa never demanded respect, and he waved away any attempts that we made to be mechabedim, and we definitely were not mechabedim koro. So I want to ask Mechila, it should be moichelas that be moichelas.